Hello, I'm Dr. Tom Willemain from Smart Software, and today I'd like to give you a little background on the three levels of forecasts. I'm speaking to you not from the company offices in the Boston area, but from my university office at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in upstate New York. We have an interest in forecasts for multiple business reasons. They help us plan raw material buys. They help us with staffing plans. They help us with setting sales targets and revenue estimates. And we also have an interest in going beyond forecast into inventory optimization calculations, which are based on forecasts. And these help us set the right balance between the amount of inventory you're willing to pay for, to carry, and to take care of. The feeding and care of inventory is a cost. And balancing against that investment is the making sure that your products, spare parts, service parts, finished goods, are available to your customers. And so there's a balance that has to be struck. And for all those cases, estimating how much revenue we'll have next year, quarter by quarter or month by month, deciding what your reorder points should be, or if you use a min-max system, what your mins should be, which is essentially setting reorder points. All of that can't really be done, especially on a mass scale for thousands of items, using your supposed golden gut. You need to do calculations. The calculations have to be fact-based, which is to say, taking account of the demand history of each of the items that you're forecasting. So when you're forecasting, there are, as I said, three levels of forecasts. The first is called point forecasts because you're forecasting a single data point. The second level is interval forecasts because instead of just saying, here's a point, this is the best guess of our sales next month, 10. We give an interval and we say there's a high probability that sales will be, say, between 5 and 15, and most likely it's 10. That's a great advantage because when you're forecasting, you're by definition playing a risk management game. And the risk that looks like this and the risk that looks like this are very different. And a company should know which of those risks is facing. You have a very high confidence forecast or very mushy forecast that has a significant chance of being substantially wrong, and therefore you have to mitigate that risk by your operational plans. So there's point forecast, there's interval forecast, and then the highest level, the most informative, and the one that's really required if you want to go beyond forecasting to inventory optimization, is called a probability forecast. So if instead of a single number, instead of a range, you actually get probabilities for all possible values. What's the chance that the demand for a spare part next week will be 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 and so forth? When you have that level of detailed information, then you could make rational, optimal choices for reorder points. And the highest level, the probability forecasts, can always be compressed down into an interval forecast. An interval forecast can always be compressed into a point forecast. But along the way, you always lose information. So what we do in our algorithms at Smart Software is we dig down deep to convert the demand history of an item into the most detailed possible forecast of all the possible scenarios and what their relative likelihoods are. And from there, we're in a good position to make optimal decisions, not just about staffing and raw material buys and sales estimates, sales plans, but also about inventory quantities like reorder points and order quantities. So I hope that was useful to you in your thinking about forecasting.